another interesting question that I want to raise in this video is what happened in Adam Saad's exit interview with the Carlton Football Club. And I want to detail and I want to unpack what the conversation would have been around. So before we do that, I want to touch on his 2025 season in totality, and then we'll go through what the discussion for Adam Saad looked like at the end of 2025, so last week, and then moving forward, what that conversation looks like, and get your thoughts on his season and what we do for the future. So this is the reality. Adam Saad, he played 21 games in 2025. He had an okay year. If you look at Adam Saad in totality, he's very available. As you can see here, from his first season to this season at Carlton, he's played 21 or more games in all but one of those seasons, which was last year, where he missed a good chunk of that with the hamstring complaint. So he still played the 18 games. So if availability is your best ability, Adam Saad shows up. And sometimes you can draw criticism because you are available. A lot of the time when players are injured, it can allow the mind to shift into imagination. Oh, but if Walsh had have played 20 plus games, it would have been better. But the reality is Adam Saad is very durable and Adam Saad is available. And that is not something I think we can say about many of the players that play for the club. So from that point of view, it was a tick. He was available. When it comes to the form, well, that's another topic there. Let's just look at his year. So the way it starts, I still remember, you may have seen this in the Brodie Kemp season review. You may have seen the goal that Adam Saad kicked against the Giants. I remember seeing this and thinking, geez, is this finally the year that we unlock Adam Saad's offensive game and get him up the ground and get him hitting the scoreboard? Now, in March, he did a piece with the ABC. He also had done a piece with Hamish McLaughlin, which I do want to play a snippet of here. And the one thing I really appreciate about Adam Saad, I know this is about footy, but sometimes things can transcend footy. The education that I get around his culture and his faith, as someone who, I'm not a religious person per se, but I really respect someone who is. And this clip here with Hamish McLaughlin.
Everyone's happy, but it's bittersweet. Like, God gave me my dream, but it's taken away something that's so important to me. And like I said, we, as Muslims, we supplicate and we ask God to make it easy for us, which He did. But when I said bye to my dad, which that was at home, mate, that was probably one of the most toughest things I had to do.
Yeah, there's something about it. It just, I think from a supporter's point of view, sometimes you can worry about certain players and what are they going to get up to off the field. I don't think I've ever had that issue with Adam Saad, and I don't think I ever will. So he's so grounded in his faith. You just know that he's going to be doing the right thing to get himself prepared to play AFL at the highest level consistently. But also the part around him teaching, and in a world that is pretty diverse, but at the same time can be pretty divided, he definitely brings an air of, I guess, multiculturalism and just, again, education around what else is out there. So there was that piece. He also notched up his 200th game. So we're talking about season starts terribly, 0-4, disastrous. We now know a bit more information around what was going on behind the scenes, but not fully. We get to the game against the Eagles, and he has, maybe one of his best games of the year, but this was his 200th game, and he was celebrated. And he's I would say Adam Saad, he doesn't make it too much about himself, so it was good to celebrate him. Played his 200th game, and then he continued on the year, and in round 16 against Port Adelaide, he suffered a concussion. So this was tough. It was a terrible game for the Carlton Football Club. But he was subbed out with a concussion after a high bump from Dante Vicentini. Losing Saad is never a good point. His form wasn't great for the majority of the year. But having said that, Adam Saad's in the best version of this team. The entire team's form was not great. So that happens a little later in the year. So he leaves the team round 16, concussion, takes some time out, obviously, with the protocols, comes back for Melbourne in round 19. And then in round 20, he was subject to some pretty pointed criticism. There was actually a Fox Sports article titled, "What's Wrong with That Man?" And it highlighted some criticism that he was getting from, some of the all-time greats. Jason Dunstall and Jack Riewoldt were basically just talking about his effort at certain contests and highlighting them. And it was tricky. And so, we get to the end of Adam Saad's season. He's played 21 games. Has he had a great year? I wouldn't say he's had a great year. I would say he had a pretty average year. And I find Adam Saad a really tricky one to analyze from this side of the fence. And the reason why I say that is because he's definitely in the best version of this team. From my lens, he didn't have... What's the word? He didn't have the same... Is it motivation? Or is it just energy? There was just something off. But there was something off with everyone, if not most of them. We know that De Koning was umming and ahhing all season. Let's be honest. De Koning knew that he was leaving before the season, if not very, very early in the season. So there's that. Charlie is not happy. Charlie wants out. Jack Silvani's not happy. And I don't think this is a new thing that he's decided over the last 2 weeks now that the season's ended. So now that we know that there's buzzkill in the dressing room, I do wonder how it affected everybody else. And so on the one hand, yeah, Adam Saad didn't have a great year. I thought he had a pretty average year by his own standards. This is a guy that's been All-Australian before. But by the same token, okay, you look at the context of what it is and why. And the reason why I want to jump into the context and the why is because, okay, what does it look like moving forward? What does it look like in 2026? And so we get to the exit interview. So what's the position from Carlton and what's the position from Adam Saad? So he's got a year to run in his contract. So next year, could we see his role become even more, is it more central? From this side of the fence, I feel like a lot of the discussion is around, geez, wouldn't it be good to see Adam Saad released, a bit more attacking, use his run and carry, play to his strengths. But at the same time, we want to see Lockie Cowan doing that. We want to see Matt Carroll doing that. Nick Newman will come into this team. I would make an assumption there. He will be fit and available and come into this team. And so I'm really struggling to know, is Saadi fully there? Is he not fully there? Are the club fully there with him? Are they not? Am I making this up out of thin air? I feel this confusion. For what it's worth, I still fully believe in Adam Saad. I think he's a great person to have at a club. He might not be at the very best of his powers, and he might not be at the very best of his form, from this point onwards, but I still think he can contribute at a high level if, the team has the full cohesion that it needs. He's been around for a while now. 2021 was his first season at Carlton, so there's no issue of, fitting into the club from where I see it anyway. I think he's well and truly ingrained in the fabric of the team as it is right now. So I just think he can have a much better year next year. I think Carlton in general can have a much better year next year if everybody is on the same page. Plenty left in the tank, but I think, we'll need to balance that trademark dash with the defensive accountability, and that's the sweet spot that I don't know. I mean, there are people that are paid at the club to figure out the best balance of that for Adam Saad. So for you, where do you stand? How do you see the Adam Saad situation? Do you think he delivered enough in 2025? And as we enter this new era, we're losing a couple of senior players. We're losing someone from the leadership group. Is he one of the players that you think needs to step up more? Or do you think we need to start planning for, life after Adam Saad? Is that the conversation? Is that where it goes in your head? I'm really curious because I find myself pretty confused because I still believe in Adam Saad, but with the dynamic of the group and the team and with players that will definitely come into the team, I'm just not sure. So we'll chat to you in the comments. We'll go from there.